Hello guys, welcome back to this channel. In the previous video we looked at Git and why it was important. We looked at some basic commands that are used in Git, and then we tapered off by installing Git onto our system. In this video we're going to look at how to actually apply the commands that we learned in an actual practical situation where we are going to actually start a project. We're going to add files to that project, and we're going to initialize Git in that project to track the files that we've added. And we're going to look at how we can set up our GitHub. We'll create a public repository in our remote, and then we'll see how we can combine this or link that remote repository to our local repository. If you didn't get the first video, this is the first and your best opportunity to actually get a feel of how Git actually works. If you're ready, let's jump right in. Okay, so previously we spoke about how the Git commands are Linux based. So in truth, Git was initially created at its core with some Unix based commands, and so I want to take us quickly through some of these commands so that we'll be a little bit more familiarized with those commands when we start using them in Git, so you won't be confused. Okay, I'm going to take you quickly through some of these commands, and then we'll quickly start to use Git by starting with our project. So first of all, I'm going to Git bash here. Now you need to know that Git actually has a GUI, that is a graphic user interface version, but I don't recommend that you use that because if you actually want to learn software development, or you want to learn how to be a developer, you need to learn how to use the command line interface, which is very important. So I'm going to start with the commands that I spoke about in Unix. These commands will allow us to quickly move through Git, so you won't be confused when I start using them in Git. So first of all, the first command I want to teach you is the pwd command. Now this command allows you to check the present working directory of a file. So if I check here right now, you will see that the last statement or the last variable in this particular URL or this directory is telling us where the current working directory is. So this last word here is the present working directory. If you look here carefully, you will see that we are actually inside of YouTube, and that's the last one over there. So that is how it works here, the present working directory. The next command I'm going to teach us is the make directory. Now make directory is used to create directories. Now what I mean by directories is folders. So if you're coming from a Windows background, what I mean is how to create a folder. So you use the make directory, and then you specify the name of the directory. So I'm going to add make directory my name, and immediately you see that it gets created over there. So that's how we actually create directories in a Unix environment. So the next command I'm going to teach us is the remove directory. So if we can create, we certainly should be able to remove. So we're going to create the remove directory, and then I'm going to make my name. Immediately you can see that the my name directory got removed. The next directory I'm going to teach us is the ls command, which is the same as the list. So I'm going to go back and quickly create the other directories that I created, my name. Okay, so now the ls directory allows us to list files or to list whatever that is in a directory. Currently I am in the YouTube directory, which is being shown here as the last one. Let me clear my screen so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So we are currently in YouTube directory. If you look carefully, it's the same over here. So the ls command allows us to list. So I'm going to type ls and hit enter. Immediately you see that there are two files I see here. There is web build, and then there is my name, which you can clearly see over here. Now you can choose to use ls, and then you use this flag called L. This will allow you to actually list them vertically, and then it also gives you extra information on those files. So it tells you the properties of those files. I'm not going to get into this now. I'll find a separate time to talk more about how these actually work, but for now I just want you to see that if you want to list a file in a directory, you can use the ls command. So if I should use the remove directory to remove my name again, and then I hit the ls again, what happens is that now instead of 2 we have only 1, which is clearly showing here. The next thing I'm going to show us is the touch command. Now this touch command is used to create files. The make directory is used to create directories, and then the touch is used to create files. Now in a Unix environment, files don't need to end with an extension, but because we are working in Windows, it's important that you create an extension for your file. Now what do I mean by extension? Usually when you create a file, let's say, let me come here and then do this. When you do this, you will see that there is a .txt at the end. That is called a file extension. So usually in Windows, the files need to have at least some form of file extension, so Windows knows how to deal with those files. But in Unix, you don't always need that. But we are not going to implement that here because we are working in Windows. We are going to try and as much as possible to add an extension to our file. So we're going to go to touch and then my file .txt. Now once we do that, you can see that it creates that for us. So the touch command allows us to create files, and then we can add those files to our project. So when you see me using touch, it means I'm just trying to create a file. The next command I'm going to teach us is the vi command. Now vi is a short form of vim, which is the vim editor that if you could remember, I selected the vim as the default editor for my bash. Now vi is a short form of vim that allows you to create files and to edit them like you would do in an editor. So let's say I wanted to add some information to my file I just created. I can use vi myfile.txt, and then what happens is that the vi is going to open an interface for me to make changes to the myfile.txt. Now just watch carefully. So you can see it gives us a Unix myfile.txt. So over here I can type whatever I want to type, but inside of this vi I'm going to quickly take us through some few commands. The first command is I, which is insert. Now if you want to edit anything in the vi, you have to use the I. So if I want to add a word here, I can't just start typing. You see, once I begin to type, it shows insert, and then I is what is used to toggle insert. So I can type anything I want here. The boy is going, I can't spell, to school. Okay, so once this is done, I can quickly save the file, and then it will be saved for me dynamically. So that is the power of vi. The vi allows you to modify your work and then to use them as though it's not as though, it actually is a word editor. So that is how the vi works. I can come here and type other things that I want. The boy is of age. Okay, and then after that I can save this. Now to save this, what you're going to do is you're going to press on escape. That is how you work in vi. You press on escape first, and then you press on colon, and then you press on X. If you can see what I'm talking about down here, you press on colon, you press on X, and then you press on enter, and then that saves your file. So now if I should open this file right now, it should show me that the boy is of age, the boy is going to school, just as I did in the vi editor. So that is one powerful tool about vi. You can use the colon X to save your file, and then you can also use something called colon Q to escape. So let's say, let me go back to my file.txt. I open this, and then I don't want to save any work. I just want to escape. I'm just going to press my escape, and I'm going to put colon, and I'm going to put Q, and then enter. and that leaves my space without saving anything. So that is that for the VI. And then the last thing I want to talk to you about is echo. Now echo is a way to actually display information in the terminal. So let me clear my space, sorry. So if I do echo my name is webroot, it echoes the same thing for me. So we can use, aside from the VI, we can use echo to send information into files, because the echo is actually able to print information. So we can do something like echo my name is Mike. Okay, but first, sorry, you have to put it into quotation marks. You can choose not to, but I just want to show you the best way to do it so that you don't get confused. So echo my name is Mike, and then I close my quote, and then I use this caret, this greater than sign, this greater than sign, and then I assign that to my file .txt. Now what this is going to do is that everything I've put into txt will be lost. Now let me show you. So you see that everything that was there, that was the boys of age, the boys going to school, is all lost, because once I use this greater than sign over here, this greater than sign is going to overwrite everything inside of this my file.txt. So if I actually did not want to overwrite, I'm going to use echo the boy is of age. This is a new text I'm adding, but I will not be using just one greater than sign. I'll use two. So when I use two greater than signs, the system knows that I am adding to the file. I am not overwriting the file. So when I do this and I enter, and then I use cat my file.txt, it shows my name is Mike, the boy is of age. If I go here, it shows me the same thing. So that's another command you can use. The cat file allows you to display everything that is inside of a file. Okay, so I think for now that should go over the basic commands that are in the Unix system that actually can be used when you are working with Git. So I think that should end that one for now. This actually looks like the shortest crash course you can ever have on a Unix command system or command line. I hope you've learned something. If you think I was moving a little bit too quickly, don't worry, just go back to the video and watch it again. It doesn't hurt. Just go back, watch the video again, you'll get what I am talking about. But because there's a lot to cover, that is why I'm doing this. So I'm gonna go ahead and then clear my file system right now, and then I'm going to delete this. Oh, sorry, there are two more commands I want to show you before I move on. That is the change directory and then the remove. Now this change directory is used to essentially move through the file structure of your system. So let me quickly make a make directory my name. That should give you a new folder, and then the change directory allows you to change your directory to any other directory you want. So I'm going to change into my name, which means that I would essentially enter, I'm going to leave the YouTube and I'm going to enter my name. So when I did that, you can see that now the current working directory is actually my name and not YouTube. Previously it was YouTube, but now it's my name. That means that anything that I add to the system right now is not going to appear inside of this place, but it's going to appear inside of here. So let me just show you what I mean. Let me just create touch my file and then enter. You see that you don't see any my file here, but if you enter here, you see my file. Now because I didn't add an extension, it is not showing the type of file it is, but it is a valid file. So I'm just going to go back. Before I go back, I'm going to remove this file using the remove. Now mind you, when we're deleting directories, we use remove there to remove the directories. but when we are dealing with files, we use just the remove this way, remove my file, and then that would remove the file from there. So as you can see, the file was removed. Okay, so I'm going to leave this my name directory and go back to the YouTube directory. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to use the cd, but because I am going backward, YouTube is right here and I am currently here. I want to leave this space and go here, which is, if I was inside of the graphic user interface, it would mean I'm here and I want to go back here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use cd / like this. This is the command that takes us back one step. So once I do this, I'm going to leave the my name and then come to YouTube. I hope you have really learned something right now. These commands are very powerful. They may seem simple, but they are powerful. So let's not waste much more time. Let us look at how we can start with Git. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to remove this. I'm going to remove this, remove my name. So that will remove that. And then I'm going to cd into web boot like this. And then I'm going to ls and see what is inside of there. I can see there's still a tutorial. So I'm going to just cd into tutorials like this. So if you look here, you see there's a tutorial and then I've moved here. Okay, so I'm just gonna cover the whole screen and then you can see what I'm doing. We are now able to work with the Git bash, so I'm gonna leave the graphic user interface and we're gonna commit everything to the terminal. Okay, so periodically go back and then look at what's happening in the folder structure, but for now we just work with the terminal. So we are in tutorials. We just do pwd and we are in tutorials. That is very good. Now we're going to create our project. Now our project is basically a directory, so we're going to create a project and we're going to call it wb_git, but I want to put that project in another folder or directory called Git. So I'm going to create a directory called Git. I'm going to use make dir Git. Okay, so when I do an ls, I'll see that there is Git. I'm going to cd into Git. Sorry. So now that I'm in Git, I'm going to create my project. So make directory wb webboot_git. Okay, so now when I ls, I'm gonna see wb_git. I'm gonna cd into wb_git. So this is going to be our project. The project name is wb_git. If you check your present working directory, you should see that you are in wb_git. If you're following closely, you should also have something close to this. Now we're going to use the Git Init to initialize Git into this repository. So basically we are turning this wb_git into a Git repository, which is going to be locally hosted on your system. So what we are going to do is, first of all, we're going to use Git Init. But before that, you should know whether you have Git, and I told you can do that with the git -- version. Okay, I don't know if this is clear for you, but I want you to see exactly what we are doing. If you are not able to see it, okay, so all right, so now that we are in here, we can see that Git is already installed. The version is 2.4.2.0. It's on Windows. Okay, so we are going to do a Git Init to initialize this particular directory into a Git project or a Git repository. We're going to use Git Init. Now once we do that, you can see that there is something that shows up right here called master. Called master pwd. So you can see that there is a master that shows up here. Now remember, when we're creating our repository, we initiated our branch with master, if you would remember. So this is the master that is showing up here because we made that settings when we're installing Git. So now we have our repository initialized with Git. Now how do we know that? Now let me take a look at here. So you can see the Git folder we created is over here, and then when we come here you can see the wb git. Now when we come here you will see a .git file. Now this .git is what shows that there is Git installed or there is Git initialized in that folder or that directory. That is what makes the directory a repository, because it can save files and track them. Now if we were to remove, like I showed us, remove .git. If we were to remove, it says cannot remove .git. It's a directory. Okay, so I have to use a different command. Now when you're trying to remove directories that have files in them, when you try to use remove directory.git, it will still give you an error and says it failed to remove the directory git because the directory is not empty. So the best way to remove a directory that has files in it is to use rm-r and then the name of the directory. So when we do this, that completely removes Git. So you can see that now the master that was here is no longer here, which should tell us that the Git repository has been destroyed, or the repository or the directory is no longer a Git repository. Okay, so now we want it to be a Git repository because we want it to track our files. So we are going to do our Git Init again, and then that is going to give us our master back. That should tell you that now the system has Git installed. If I do an ls-l and a, it should tell you that there is a Git directory here that is actually supposed to be hidden, but because I've checked the hidden check mark here, and you can see it. So that is it. Our Git repository is set, and then the name of our branch is master. So the next thing we are going to do is we are going to create a file in our Git repository. So usually in Git we have or in software development we have something called a readme. So I'm going to use that readme to rather illustrate how Git works. I'm not going to create any laborious or long project or a lot of files. This is just a beginners or a starters. So I'm not going to spend so much time to create a lot of files. I'm going to use something we call a readme. Now when we go to GitHub, you are going to see what I'm talking about. In every project there is a readme. Now what this readme does is it gives you information about the file, it gives you information about that project, and then what the project is about, the stack or the technologies that were used in the project, and a whole lot. So it's always advisable to create a readme. So we are going to use that to illustrate the commands that we want to learn. So I'm going to use touch, okay, and then make sure it's in capital letters like this, touch readme. Now if you go here, you will be able to see that there's a readme here. So everything you are doing should be looking something like this. And then we're going to do an ls. You see that there is one file there called readme. Now how are we going to put words into this readme? If you're following, you should know there are two ways we can do that. We can use the vi command, or we can use the echo command. Now, for the sake of being able to actually put words in a way and format it in the way you want, it is always best to use vi. But if you want to use just a one-liner, or you want to just put some quick words into your file, you can use an echo. So I'm going to use both. So I'm going to first start with the echo. I'm going to do echo, this is my first repository, this way, and then I'm going to send it over to readme, which means that it is going to overwrite the readme or anything in it. But we don't care about that because the readme is already empty, so we don't care. So we're going to just enter. So when we do cat, readme, I don't know how. So cat readme, you can see this is my first repository. So we have our first file created. Then the next command we are going to do, we're going to use a command called the Git Status. I told you earlier on that Git Add, Git Status, and Git Commit, they form what we call the workflow of Git. So we are going to start using them very quickly. Let's go to Git Status. Now, whoa, what is over here? Git Status is saying no commits yet on tracked files. So use Git Add file to include in what will be committed. And then you can see that the readme is red. It's highlighted in red. Nothing added to commit, but untracked files present. So Git Status is saying, when I check the state of your file, the file doesn't seem to be tracked. We don't know where this file is coming from. If you want us to track it, then add it by using Git Add, because we can't see that anything has been added, so we can't commit it to our repository. So that is what Git Status does. Git Status just tells you what this file is, the state of the file, whether it is tracked, whether it's untracked, whether it's committed, everything. So what we're going to do now is, because we are adding this to our file, into our project, we're going to go ahead and then use Git Add. So as you can see, Git is already telling us what we should do. So I'm going to go here, I'm going to do Git Add, and then I'm going to add the name of the file, which is readme. Now mind you, if you type the readme wrongly, if you type readme, okay, if you do this right now, you're going to get an error. Oh, sorry, not here. It looks like it worked, but usually some of these words are case sensitive, so you should be careful when you are renaming your files. When you rename, or when you name your files in a way that you do not repeat them that way, sometimes they do not work. But it looks like it worked this time, so I'm going to use Git Status. So as you can see, I did the Git Add and readme, and then it added it. So I'm going to use Git Status to check again what the state of that file is. When I do that, guess what? It looks like I was right after all, because Git did not add readme. It's still saying readme is untracked. So it means that I did not actually add this readme. I added something else that Git did not know about, and Git is not going to tell me anything until I come and use my status, and then it tells me, oh, you thought you added something, but that was not what I saw. So it's very important to actually type things as they appear in Unix. So I'm going to go ahead and then do this Git Add again, and I'm going to type in the actual readme.md this way. Okay. Alright, now Git tells me something else. It says, warning, in the working copy of readme, LF will be replaced by CRLF the next time Git touches it. Now what this is don't worry too much about this. This is sort of operating system dependent. Now this LF over here represents the end of a file in a Linux or Unix system. But because we are working in a Windows system, which ends with crlf. Basically, let me explain it well so that you understand. In Windows, every file ends with this crlf. It is put somewhere in the file. You don't see it, but every file that is created ends with crlf. That is how Windows is able to identify that the file, that is how Windows is able to format or make the file appear or display as it was created. The same thing happens to lf. In Windows, in the Unix system, the lf is used to help the file display as it was created. But because we are working with a Unix command in a Windows system, you're going to have some conflicts because the files that we are creating are sitting on a Windows operating system. So even though we created them programmatically using a Unix command, it is still going to sit on a Windows system, so it's going to give us this kind of complaint. So Git quickly changes this lf to crlf every time it is working on that file. So don't worry so much about it. We'll look at it later, so just leave it. So now when we go back and check Git status, oh, look at what we have here. Now Git status is saying that on branch master, that is the name of the branch we are on branch master, there are no commits yet. Changes to be committed are these files. So you can see it's no longer an untracked file. This file is now being tracked, so it's green. It means that Git is aware of this file. So now we've added this file. The next thing we can do is to commit it. And I told you, commit means saving the file to Git. Now that .git file that is hidden on your project is sort of the database that is being used to save or track the files. So I'm just going to git commit to save the file to our internal Git database. Now when I do that, something is going to happen. What happens is that it automatically opens a VI or a Vim editor for us. That is why I took time to go over some of these things so that you do not get confused. I remember when I started to learn Git, I was hung up on this screen for almost an hour. I just did not know what to do about this screen. But I'm going to teach you what this means. This doesn't really mean much. Everything starting with a hash means it's a comment, which means that these are not even relevant. They do not appear and they're not going to really affect what you're going to do here. So you can easily decide to remove them if you want, but it doesn't matter. They will not affect what you're going to do anyway. So what is happening is that Git Commit does not just save files to your database or your Git database without you adding an information to it. Usually Git requires that you add a commit message. So it says please enter the commit message for your changes. This is because when we are working with a distributed version control system, you are working with many people, you are working with different teams, and it's very important to keep track and give a clear description of what changes you have made to a file. Or else what's going to happen is you pick a file, you make changes to it, you send it to a remote or you send it to someone else, and the person is confused. They don't know what changes you made, they don't know when you made the changes, they don't know what particular change you have made or applied to the project, and that can be confusing. So the first rule of Git, make sure that all your commits have messages, and not just any message, clear and well defined messages. Don't put something like committed, or let's say committed. This is a very bad kind of commit message. This is going to get you fired. Please don't use those kind of messages if you are committing your work. Imagine you're working with 3 or 4 people on your project or your final project work, and then you are committing a work and then you said committed today. Committed today. This means nothing. Make sure that you commit exactly what you have done to the work. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna just type my first Git Commit. Okay, so my first Git commit about creating README files. Now this is a very descriptive commit message, and anyone who looks at this knows that, okay, this person is a starter, they did a commit about creating a README file. Good. So once you're done, if you remember, you press on escape so that you leave the insert mode, and then you use colon, and then you use X, and then you press on enter. Then that saves it. Okay, so you can see it says my Git commit about creating README files, one file change, one insertion, create mode. So every commit has a unique identifier that it comes with. So when you create a commit, Git logs that commit with a unique identifier that can be used to track that commit. So if I should do git log right now, you see that there is something here. You can see there is a commit, and then there is some alphanumeric long file here. That is the Git ID. Now this ID allows us to track or see the commit inside of our Git database or our small Git database. So that's basically how this works. Okay, so when I use git log, it will show me all the commits that I have done. Because we've done only one commit, it's going to show us only one, and it's going to show us the author of the commit. It's going to show us the date. So this is the author is Tough Coder, then the author's email is also here, right here. But we are seeing this because someone else already created an author and an email in our system. But we'll get to there. We'll look at it. This is where git config comes in. Git config allows you to set the variables for the one who is using the repository or the one who is using Git on the system. This also allows you to set the email of that person. Okay, so I'm going to get into that very soon, so don't worry. So now we've looked at how to add a file to Git. We've looked at how to use the status, the Git status, to check the state of the file. We have actually committed to our repository. Okay, so now we want to go to GitHub and see how we can set up our remote, because right now we have everything done here. If we go back and check our project, there's a README. When we do our Git status, it tells us on branch master nothing to commit. The working tree is clean, meaning that every file inside of this project is being tracked and there is no file that is untracked here. So we have practically saved our work here, and so if we wanted to push it to a remote repository, we could do that, meaning that we want to save a copy of it somewhere on a distant or remote server. So I hope you appreciate what we've done here so far. It's a lot of work and there is much more that we are going to do, but I just hope that you can take a short time to just take a breather and understand everything that we have done. It's a lot, I know it's a lot, but I believe that it's value that I'm giving to you. So don't worry, we are going to get used to some of these things as we go forward. Now, before we leave and go to GitHub to set some few things up, I just want you to understand that now the Git Add adds a file to the project, but you don't only need to use the file name, for example, something like this. So let's just try and do something like a git, let's just create a touch and call it my file again .txt. We are not going to actually commit this, so when I press on ls, it will give me that I have readme and then my file again. If I go to Git status, it's going to say there is something called my file again.txt that has not been tracked, so I should track it by using the Git Add. Now we can just do Git Add my file again. I mean, come on, .t. That's so much work. You can just do that, or we can just use a wildcard like this, which is git add star, which means git add everything. What this is going to do is it's going to add both the readme and my file again .txt. So let me try something like this: git add everything. Okay. All right. Git is taking its time. Okay, so now Git status, and you can see that the new file is now green, which means that it has been committed. Now I don't want to commit this, so we can use a keyword. Now Git actually helps you to understand how to use it. Over here you can see use git restore -- staged file to on stage. Now the staging means that it has been added and now it is no longer an untracked file. So we can just do the git restore -- stage and then the file name, which is my file again .txt. Now when we do this, what's going to happen is that Git is going to restore this file back to its untracked state. So if we do git status and we enter, we see that the file is still not tracked. Now I don't want to track this file. I don't want to commit this file, because if I commit it, it's now going to be a part of my database and I have to send it. When I'm sending it, I'll have to send it along with my readme. So I'm going to remove this with the rm, then my file again .txt. Now good. So now when I go to git status, or let me first do an ls. When I do an ls, I see that there's no longer my file again .txt. There's only readme over here. And then I'm going to do a git status to see what's going on. It says that git status on branch master, nothing to commit, and the working tree is clean. So I've just gone through a whole lot of commands here right now, and we've been able to add files, remove files, we've been able to create directories, we've been able to change directories, a whole lot of information. In the next video, we're going to look at how to set up our GitHub account and then set up our remote so that we can be able to synchronize our files. We can send our files to the remote, and then we are going to just close our mind and throw our key somewhere because our file is safe online and nobody's going to corrupt our files on the remote. So that is that for now. I apologize. I wanted to do the GitHub tutorial in this particular video, but as you can see, the video is running too long and I want to end it here so that you can take a breather, and then we'll tackle GitHub in the next video. Thank you for watching this video every day, coming over to this website to learn. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, you can just send them in the comments. Very soon I'm going to create a community where we can interact and all that. But for now, just let me see your comments. Let me see whether you are learning something so that I can know how to tailor the content and everything that is in between that. So I want to thank you again for watching this video, and I'll see you. Bye.